often touted as that no dickheads policy. I hear that more outside of the group than within it, because that's a given. The phrase that just pops straight into my mind is part-time values. The values that are on the wall, but they're just not lived all the time. They're front foot. Your focus then turns to, well, how can I make this role sustainable and better for the next people? And I think that's a massive part of, for example, the All Blacks. And ultimately, that then starts to create legacy.
All right, so today we're welcoming Brad Mooar to the podcast. Hi, Brad. Lovely to have you with us.
Henry, great to be here, Alex. Cheers.
Maybe just to give the listeners a little bit of an understanding about who you are. I mean, we're going to get into it. You've worked within some of the most successful teams in the world, but you did start as a lawyer in Christchurch. Maybe for some lawyers that are listening, it would be interesting to know how you go from being a lawyer to coaching the All Blacks, and to understand a little bit more about what actually inspired you to go down the coaching route in the first place.
Well, it's just really about passion and excitement and joy, really, at the end of the day. Always involved in footy playing, never to a really high level, met great people and played overseas along the way, some cool experiences. So rugby is fantastic. And I was always really curious around the coaching environment. So whenever I was playing at school, get involved with the conversations with the coach around understanding the game. I probably had to try to understand it more than the next guy through lack of ability. But I always enjoyed that. In terms of being in the law, I was working with a great firm of people in Christchurch, a firm called Cavell Leach, Pringle and Boyle, then mentored by some superb senior solicitors and practitioners in the law and the people game along the way. But it just, in terms of the coaching side of it, once I stopped playing in 2004, didn't do anything in 2005, and then coached an under-21 team, local club, Christchurch Football Club, in 2006, and just loved it. Coaching with really good co-coach, enjoyed the environment and loved the challenge of that, and thought, geez, this is something I could learn more about myself, learn more about people, and obviously the game. Just enjoyed the people aspect of it so much, and connected with how you could see playing the game along the way. So then after the Colts, that under-21 team, then coached the senior side for 4 years. And again, along great people. And sometimes you just get your timing right, don't you? We had an awesome side for 4 years. Guys like Hadley Parks, played for Christchurch with us for a number of years, and then provincial and Super Rugby in New Zealand, and obviously late 20s, 30 tests for Wales along the way. Matt Todd, All Blacks flanker. These guys were 19 years old and in the team and full of beans and outstanding quality. Had the odd appearance from a fellow like Richie McCaw in the club as well. So we timed our run nicely with quality players who made all your coaching look good. So in terms of really enjoying that, I was also at the similar time reading a book From Good to Great, Jim Collins. It talks about a Venn diagram of working out what you love doing and really passionate about. He talks about being world class at something. Let's just say you can be really good at it. And does it also fill your economic engine? So can you make money out of it and get paid? And if you can do all those three things and you're living in the middle of those circles, then you're really living and not necessarily working. And I was thinking, well, I'm really enjoying the law. I enjoy the people I work with and work for. It's great relationships, learning a lot, but it's not something I can imagine bouncing out of bed at 60 years old, which at about 30 years old seemed a long way away. And now it's not that far away to be doing and be really passionate about, financial security, all that stuff ticks, but it's not really the joy and the passion of life. So conversation with my now wife, and we had a couple of kids, and it was just all about whether this is something we could pursue and would give us some adventures along the way. And if an opportunity came up to work in coaching, would we take that? And without dipping the toe in and just having a go and still being in the law, it'd be about, well, at some stage you got to burn the boats and have a crack. So that opportunity came along to go to the Southern Kings in Port Elizabeth. A good mate of mine, Matt Sexton, was was in charge of the Crusaders Academy at the time, and he had the opportunity to go and be the head coach over at the Kings, and asked if I'd go along and be a skills coach, skills and kicking, and that was the in. So we chose to take that opportunity, left the law. One of the toughest meetings I've been in to advise my senior partner and mentor about that, but he remains a great mate and is really chuffed with how things have turned out. And off we went, took the family over to South Africa. That was 2012.
Awesome.
Wow.
And have had, a pretty exciting, eventful journey since. For those that maybe aren't rugby followers, would you mind just explaining that period then from 2012 to modern day? Yeah,
well, there's been a few moves along the way. It's been really, really cool, and like I said earlier, a great adventure for the family as well. Now with 3 teenagers nicely settled in Christchurch. So along the way, we're obviously in Port Elizabeth, the Southern Kings there, and then from there came home, and the timing presented an opportunity to apply for a role with the Southland Stags down in Invercargill, which is where we ultimately met, mate, antlers up. And it was a beautiful time. So we moved down to Invercargill, so the bottom of the South Island, just the Riviera of the South, magnificent people. And there's a couple of years down there as head coach, director of coaching, and the head of high performance. So try and bring the academy along the way and do a few projects in those spaces. And then the opportunity came up to come back to Christchurch and join the Crusaders, which we did, Christchurch being home as well. So we moved up at the end of 2015 and had 4 seasons, the Crusaders. First season under Todd Blackadder, and the next 3 seasons with Scott Robertson. And then 2019, the opportunity came up to go to the Scarlets in Wales and head coach there, and just a superb time, which after 5 months over there coincided with opportunity to then unforeseen to come back and join the All Blacks. So again, you can delve into that at some stage. This conversation with my partner at Cavill Leach when we left the law was tough. That would be one of the toughest decisions to make about leaving the Scarlets and coming back to the All Blacks. But we did, and there's a couple of years, and then moved on out of there, and then did a couple of consultancy roles with a couple of clubs over in the UK for a couple of period of time, and then most recently had the World Cup year consulting with Scotland, which was just a magnificent experience and role through the Six Nations of 2023, and then the World Cup campaign in France.
Yeah, quite the resume, and definitely gives you such an interesting perspective, I think, in regards to those different cultures across both sides of the globe. Maybe to start with, coach the All Blacks, who are arguably the most successful sports team of all time, and then the Crusaders, who are the most successful rugby club in the world. In your opinion, what is it that makes these teams so successful? Is there one standout factor, or is there 2 or 3 things that they do world class?
I think the common denominator with all the teams worked in, and there's generally no rocket science to these sort of conversations. There's no silver bullet. It's just the quality of the people and the understanding of your role within that organisation, and then focusing on that and getting that done. The sustained success of organisations can't be all about one person or one group of people, because it goes on for years through different groups, doesn't it? When you talk about the All Blacks, that's 100 years of history and ultimately legacy that you then in the privilege to be part of, and you're just really custodians of your role, whatever that may be, whether you're a player, a coach, a physio, a manager. There are people that have come before you. There are people that will come after you. So that custodial nature of let's just muck in, do your best in the time that you're there, and allow the group to express themselves and achieve what it wants to achieve. Sometimes you win trophies and titles, and Other times you don't, but still the journey has to be one of sustained and continued seeking of success to try to achieve that and improve your people and your athletes.
Yeah, I suppose relating it back to the business world, in elite sports and some of the teams that you've coached or advised, usually high performance is a hallmark of their success. If you take the All Blacks, which means they're under immense pressure to perform. So as the leader of that team or the coach of that team, what are the tactics or the things that you can do to help them meet those expectations, those high expectations, and also thrive under really immense pressure?
Well, basically, I think when you describe it like that, and you are spot on, it's the execution of the skills under pressure time and time again. So generally, it's a little moment in the international game, rugby, and it'll be the same with any international level of sport. The margins are tiny, but the consequences of getting those margins right or wrong are massive. Take the Scotland-France game in the weekend, for example. I mean, it will still be extremely raw, but the margin of who wins that game is tiny and decided in a split-second moment at the end of the game. And there's a whole lot of other moments along the way that build up to that. So the ability to perform a skill under pressure of time and space, pressure of the opposition trying to put you in a position where you can't execute your skills, the pressure of the mental belief about the outcome, pressure and who's watching, and the fear of failure or the fear of success. Taking all those factors away and making sure the environment allows people to express themselves but replicates as much as you can the ability to practice your skill set under pressure, so that come Saturday, you're just playing, you've done all the thinking, and you can just execute in an automated, subconscious type of way. You see pictures, you know you've been here before, I can do this. So we can preview opposition as much as we like and create tactics and plays along the way. But the game of rugby is so dynamic, and you can practice with your starting 15 for most of the week and then have an injury in minute 1, and someone comes in and then they get injured or yellow card, and the next thing someone's playing in a position that you haven't actually trained a heck of a lot for, might have done the odd rep. But then now we're relying on people to see a picture in front of them, to execute a skill set, to communicate that amongst themselves and decide that that's what they're going to do, and then go and execute the skill set. So if you can work on those 3 things of vision, decide, and execute in a moment, then that's relevant for anything. Removing the clutter, remove the reason to be thinking in that moment of high pressure, and just see, decide, and do is a real focus and a pot of gold if we can get that right.
And in regards to business space, whether it's, as a lawyer or banker, or in maybe less traditional realm in a startup, teams often don't have as much time to train. The ratio of training to, I guess, doing is significantly skewed in the opposite direction in the corporate space. If you only had an hour a day or even an hour a week to develop that ability within your team to perform in those high pressure or high stake moments, how would you go about doing that as a leader?
Well, I think I'd be looking to say, well, in that specific space, what are the main things that we have to get right? And then agree and align on those main things. If we want to get from here to here, what must we have right? And that won't be a linear journey. So we're going to go up, down, sideways, backwards along the way, but ultimately that's where we want to get to. Then there will be certain things that as a group we need to get right. And then as each individual, we have to know what our role is to then contribute to that. So aligning that with the group. So for me, the process would be around, first of all, caring. So making sure that we all understand that we care for the person and the people, and that you come first and the group. Then valuing. So making sure that as a group and as individuals, you are really clear about what it is that you do that is valued for this group to achieve. Doesn't matter what role it is, but what we need you to do and why that's a valued aspect of this group. Then empowering the people to go and do their roles. So get out of their way and allow them to then take that forward. And ultimately that allows you to grow as an individual and as a group. So within all that, there'll be the discussion, for example, let's take the valuing part of it. That's where, for me, you have to get alignment, because then each person in the group understands what they need to do and why it's highly valued by what we want to achieve as a group. And that aligns the group to then go and do what it needs to do. So focusing on those critical tasks, those critical few that we have to get right, is what I'd then focus on in a limited time. But I think also this topic is a bit more broad in terms of transferring it. What are the transferable skill sets from sport to a corporate world? Is it also got to allow failure and allow the vulnerability of being able to say, well, I'm not sure what to do here, or I haven't quite got the answer. But what is the group? Is there an answer within the group? Because generally there will be. But allowing that failure to be actually seen as an opportunity to learn. So creating that safe environment, because it's not all going to, like I said earlier, it's not all going to be linear. And you look back and go, oh, that was beautiful. Yeah, we got everything right the whole way through. Some of our best lessons are when we, in a corporate world, will be when we've pitched for a job and didn't get it, or the troubled file. What's the file on the desk that it gets to the top of the pile of now the to-do list, and then, don't think I really want to get into that right now. I'll put it down the bottom again. So could you, as a group, in that hour, actually everyone bring their troubled file, the one you don't want to get your head into, and the one that's keeping you up at night, bring that and talk to that. And there'll be an answer, there'll be a solution somewhere in the group.
Yeah, I love that concept about using the group to brainstorm and co-create something, because you'll have different perspectives, different ideas, and you can apply that in any context, especially in the business world or the startup world, where things are new, processes are being created, the foundations are being built, and often people don't want to get it wrong or perceive that they're getting wrong within the group. So actually, if you create something like you just said there, I think that could be so powerful.
You know, it really intrigues me in a work environment to do that. And I think that I agree with the word being, it would be really powerful. I think you've got, well, for me, it's really important if I'm leading a group. I love the cognitive diversity of a group that you can put around you, not being the smartest in the room, trying to have the smartest people in the room with you, and then creating an environment that allows them to share their ideas. You can have moments where actually let's just brainstorm ideas. We're not going to get deep into them, but let's brainstorm where we could go, and there's no stupid idea. So think differently. And within your group, not only about that cognitive diversity, but there's also the experiential diversity that you touch on there. So everybody will have had different experiences along the way, but there's a high chance that whatever the issue is that's keeping you up at night will have been dealt with some way or another by somebody else, or they've spoken to somebody who's dealt with that. And there's just that sharing mentality says, okay, this is okay. This has been done before. That might be a way to go and deal with it, or let's go deeper into this space, and then we can take it forward and solve it.
Yeah. And you mentioned the group there, Brad. When I'm thinking about teams in the kind of the corporate world, you hear a lot of talk about values. And sometimes you'll see people put values up on the wall, but then you'll hear stories that they're not lived. They're not actionable, or they're not seen within the four walls of the office. You obviously worked at some of the most successful sports teams of all time. So inside the Crusaders or inside the All Blacks, how did those core values come to life? What were the practices? How were they instilled and upheld within the group, which people from the business world could kind of take inspiration from to try and implement that in their world?
Well, mate, it's a great question and beautiful topic. I think when you started off the question, just the phrase that just popped straight into my mind is part-time values. You know, the values that are on the wall, but they're just not lived all the time. They're front foot values. So when we're going forward, it's great. Yeah, everyone's got integrity and team first, and work ethic and all these things. And yep, we all know what they mean, and they're just never tested. The values work great when things are flowing successfully, but they're really, really critical when it's times of challenge and things aren't going so well. There's got to be full-time values. So the key to me in that is before you can live your values, you actually have to really be sure that you've defined them, and there's an understanding across the group of what are the behaviors that you need to show to show that you understand the values that are important to this group. So day to day, what does integrity look like? What does loyalty look like? Because generally, mate, workplaces will create values, and if they're going to choose 5, I reckon you could probably guess that those 5 will come out of a group of 10 that are pretty consistent around the world. But has there been time put in, A, to understand what the behavioral standards are and what those behaviors look like every day that reflect those values, and B, when bringing new people in or retouching those values to make sure they're still current with the current group of new people, experienced people, etc., are we still aligning to make sure that the understanding's still there and that there's no relaxing in that space? So ultimately, you get that stuff right, understanding the values and the definition of them, and then the behaviors that are required to be shown to reflect those values, then the group itself will actually police them. It's not up to only the leaders or the senior leadership team to be policing that in a catch out, not help out mentality, creating the list of things that everyone's done wrong and then reading those out at a morning tea. That leaders have to live those and be seen to be living them, but the group will actually start to police that themselves and get alongside people and say, oh, look, I just saw the other day, you walk past those couple of dirty dishes and you could have put them in the dishwasher but chose not to. We help out here. Little things like that can be really important. I mean, how many places have you worked in where you see the sign in the kitchen that says, put your dirty cups in the dishwasher? Geez, if you see them, just put them in. Do you need the sign? If the workplace is working well, that stuff will just, that'll roll. If you're walking past a bit of rubbish in the street and the rubbish bin's right there, do you pick that up and put it in, or you just kick it and carry on?
Yeah, and the way you phrased that then, I thought was very powerful, calling it behavioral standards. And it's upholding the standards of the team. We act in this way, we behave in this way, not just behaviors or principles. It's like, these are the standards that we expect from ourselves, from each other. I thought that was very powerful. And looking at, say, the All Blacks with such rich tradition, with the context that you always need to be innovating and looking for the next thing on how you're going to become better in the marginal gains process and theory, what advice do you have for business leaders on honoring a company's history? Say you've taken over a role and there's been a company that's been around for 10, 15, 20 years, but also looking to set your own mark and also focus on what's next in the future and innovation. How do you kind of balance the two, given your experience in such rich clubs around the world?
Yeah, look at another great question. Cool topic. I think what springs to mind for me is go back to that phrase around being your custodians. So you don't own the role, and I think on the whole, farmers get this. The ones who have owned land or are farming land that is has been in the family for a number of generations, they understand that they are actually custodians of the land. Their job is to farm that, to create a living for their family, but also to make sure that they leave that farm in a better position to be sustainable for the next generations. So when you have that custodial nature of your role, whether that be in the All Blacks or down the road at the local school or the accounting firm, etc., because again, people have been before you, they will come after you. Then your focus then turns to, well, how can I make this role sustainable and better for the next people? And I think that's a massive part of, for example, the All Blacks. And ultimately that then starts to create legacy. So for me, I think when we talk about legacy, what's the legacy you want to leave? I struggle with that concept because that starts to talk about you. Whereas a legacy is really something that people in the future will talk about the group and how important that is and what that's taken forward. So someone else decides that. So if you start focusing on that, then you might start thinking about you and what you're going to be seen as opposed to the role as custodial. Yeah, look, this is not new concepts, and we all have our own different spin on it. But I do believe that the Owen Eastwood philosophy of the belonging concept is totally in tune with that. I'm sure you would have read the book, listened to Owen around the son, the line of the generation and the genial line of the people flows through all time, and that comes from the past, the present, and the future. And it's just, where is the sun shining at the moment? So the ability to think about, well, where will this role be a long time in the future? Not just in 5 years' time, but is it sustainable for 100 years? What will it look like then? The Native American Indian thinking about making decisions around the campfire that will, if we make this decision today, what will it look like in 7 generations' time? That mentality links into the custodial nature, which says, now let's take that forward in a sustainable way so that it's better for the next people. Because when we talk about that, to me, that what really resonates around behavioural standards is when we're in these teams, these international sides and professional sporting teams, everybody's goal is to win the competition. In the teams I've been involved in, there's no point sitting down and going, well, what's our performance goal for the season, our outcome goal, because it's win the competition, win the competition, win the competition. So we all know that. But what are the pieces of behavioural standards that will be put in place to make that work? I think the teams like Barcelona Football Club, that was what they would talk about from a long time, many years ago.
Yeah.
Day-to-day behavioural standards that put you in the best position to be able to achieve the results you want to achieve.
Yeah. And you could see that. I watched the Pep documentary, and there was an opportunity before they signed Pep to sign Mourinho, who'd won the Champions League and was a different type of manager, more about the individual and stardom, etc. And they chose Pep, who was the manager of the B team, but he'd played at Barcelona. He'd won Champions League at Barcelona. He'd grown up in La Masia, the academy. So the behavioural standards and what's expected in the culture was running through his blood. So they went for him over what many people thought would be the right decision. And actually on that, I'd be really interested to get your take on it, because the first, I think, 3 or 4 games he lost. And so everyone's then putting pressure on the media. You should have gone with Mourinho. Has there been moments in your career where results haven't gone your way, where you've then had to adapt your style or your leadership or weather the storm and bring the team and the players together and really get through a speed bump or a hurdle that's been difficult to you?
Oh, plenty. When you're coaching a side like the Southern Kings in their first year of Super Rugby, that's an infant, and you're coaching in a competition that's 20 years old. There's other organisations that are 20 years old. Yours is 1 year old. So everything about it is new. Then how does that all glue together? So again, the focus on just what do we have to have right? What is the vision? How are we going to work to that is critical. With Henry in Southland, he'll know this, that the resource is not financial facilities, etc. It's the people ultimately under those pressures of performance. And there's again, it's a side that wants to win the competition, but how do you work your day to day to get to the playoffs? So when you've lost 3 in a row, a couple of those were ones where you thought you'd pick up a few competition points to get you some momentum. All of a sudden, you can start questioning that what you're chasing is are the right things. Then there's no doubt in times of those experiences, as a green, inexperienced coach, start to bounce around and try to fix the last thing that wasn't right, that didn't come off. So then this Saturday, these 3 things didn't work, so let's work on those. Oh, now next Saturday, it's these 3 things, start chasing that. So you're not getting any consistency of, well, what do we have to have right and in place? So I think that's where under those circumstances and challenges, that's when the group needs to see that, no, we've got the right course, and it's not about being stubborn in that. It's about showing the group that if we continue to work on these things that are really critical to what we have to get right, then we will get better and better at being able to perform then under pressure, and things will happen. And show that in terms of review, of preview, with the individual chats, alignment of language with the staff. So there's not one meeting where you're talking in a way that's consistent with that, but then there's a little corridor chat over here that's, oh, let's try something different today. But holding the course so long as the course is right, and keep testing that, and having the conversation that says, are we still chasing the right things? Allow that challenge. But then once you settle on, yes, these are the right things, then you must go and keep chasing that consistency.
Yeah. And I guess it can be really challenging when you're working in teams where the expectations are so high that even one loss makes people maybe that aren't within the group or the team start throwing, accusations or questions your way, and the confidence to know within the inner group that you are heading in the right direction is so crucial, isn't it? When ultimately the weight of a nation are on your shoulders, say, as the All Blacks, they are the pride and joy of New Zealand.
Oh, absolutely. And really that scrutiny. So we understand that it's a high pressure environment, and that there's all sorts of demands on the people within it. So again, what do you take out to try and keep it as clear and obvious as possible about what you're seeking? And the scrutiny of those outside the group will be forever constant, and it's got a much bigger voice now, hasn't it, through social media and comments ability, and everybody is effectively a journalist with a voice and an ability to put that forward. Understanding that in some environments and places that you choose to accept to be in, so never forgetting that, then that'll come with a massive amount of scrutiny.
Yeah, understandably so. One of the things that you spoke about there, obviously, was what is universal. It's about getting the right people and, clarity around who we are, how we do things, and what we're trying to achieve. And you said they're largely then self-policing in regards to standards. But, as a coach, you've won 3 separate leagues across 3 separate continents. So you obviously have that ability to apply it across multiple different cultures. Out of interest, from New Zealand and South Africa to Wales and Scotland in the Northern Hemisphere, was there any cultural differences that you observed in regards to what you've spoken about, that sort of custodian of the shirt, the Maori phrase whakapapa that explains that? Is that something that is one of the hidden secrets, quote unquote, of the All Blacks and their perspective towards what their role is within a team and organisation? Or did you see that in certain pockets within the Northern Hemisphere too?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing with culture and moving into any group is when you join a group, you are the visitor. So there's no doubt, we hear in a corporate world, change management needs a culture change, etc. But again, that'll have a different meaning to everybody who hears it. So the key in those things is to sit down and spend time at base to actually really test and understand what is required here. You're dealing with people, so you got to look after them as humans, regardless of whether there's going to be change or not. That's ever constant. I've felt that, been in that, to take an opportunity and to be removed from an opportunity. So that's going to happen. So when you join a group of people, you, like I say, you are the visitor. So taking time, I found with, and I guess these are lessons you learn along the way. Certainly with when went to join the Scarlets, spent a lot of time in the lead up. It's probably 9 or 10 months from accepting the role to actually starting it. to really go into what is the in-depth culture, identity of the Scarlets game, of the people of Llanelli and West Wales. Who are we representing? What are they? What are the supporters? We did a survey around media, staff, supporters. Staff, I meaning office staff, rugby staff, the board, so supporters, and obviously the team around. Give us words that describe Scarlets at its best. Words, what it might look like under pressure. And that started to give a concept of what's the type of rugby we want to be playing. When Scarlets is playing its best footy, what does that look like? So then can really build an understanding. That was essentially for me to be able to build an understanding of what is this identity, what does it look like, what is the culture that I'll be joining, because then it allows you to go, well, okay, this is how I think I can lead a group that can add to that and move it to where the group wants to take it to, while still attaching to what that's about and what the history says this is what the Scarlets are about. And then there's the passion for people. You're just going in and listening and watching and observing and ensuring that you're seeing how people operate, how do they talk to each other, what's their passion for the role, how do they want to grow, how do they want to grow the role, and allowing them to have that role in it. So then you get back to that care, value, power, and grow, and having the consistency of your day to day that gives the people that you're around the confidence that they know who's going to turn up. So who they need to go, and when they speak to Brad today, what's the likely response going to be, or the acceptance of some feedback, and then tomorrow will it be the same person? Because then they can really open up and add to the environment. So ultimately understanding that we are the visitor when we join a culture, when we go and join a new workforce, we are the visitor, regardless of your role.
Yeah.
You don't have to implement immediate change and just throw everything out. There's obviously been some reason that this place has been successful, and there's a reason why you've joined it. So add to that.
Yeah, it's fascinating to hear. You see, especially I'm going to use football as an example. There's also fantastic examples in football of great coaches, but you see a manager go somewhere and bring their style, and there's no flexibility. And there seems to be a humility that you describe around, again, understanding the environment that you're stepping into, what makes them special, what are their core values, what's their identity, and then what skills do I have that can contribute, adjusting you to the environment. And I guess that's one of the biggest reasons why you have been successful across this variety of cultures, northern, southern hemispheres, and it makes total sense. I guess that requires an adaptability and a big toolbox. And, I've seen you visited US Army Special Warfare. You spent 3 days at the Centre for Creative Leadership, and even a day with, if I'm right, one of Australia's leading racehorse trainers. So you've purposefully gone out to try and build that toolbox. And what insights did you learn from stepping outside the industry of rugby? And how did you then apply them so they were actually relevant to your environment?
Yeah, really, really privileged and fortunate to have those different experiences along the way. And each time there's been a specific angle that I have wanted to go in and test. Look at this guy, Bruce Blair. It's been the New Zealand Rugby's high performance coach development manager for a number of years. And he has helped massively facilitate and challenge different areas, facilitate the places, the doors to open, and challenge you and how you want to grow and develop. So your own personal development, but also making it really clear that you own that. That's not for someone else to own. How you want to develop yourself and what areas you think are ones you want to enhance, or others that there's little gaps in, that's up to you to then drive, and hopefully have people around you that can help open doors or test those things, or start to really grease the wheel that allows you to go and experience different things. So along the way, the Center of Creative Leadership, there was a massive ability to really learn about yourself, because you're dealing with a whole lot of feedback, personality tests, inclusion type formulations, and things that say, well, do you like being included, or do you like including others, or and those sorts of circumstances. I mean, all sorts. So you're learning a lot about yourself. When I went to the special forces at the Delta Force at Fort Bragg, on the same trip, it was in North Carolina, so it was a great opportunity. That was about communication under pressure, how they're choosing their leaders, how they develop their leaders, and also the emotional ability to be in one day you're in a mission, not combat. We're talking about life and death, bullets and missiles and all sorts going on around you. But you're in that moment one day, and then a couple of days later you're back at the home with the family. And how are they emotionally helping their people come out of that mission mentality to then get back into the house? So from a rugby perspective and a performance perspective, Saturday night, we're asking our guys to go to the wall, physically, emotionally charged, and then perform. But then we expect them to be able to immediately drop back down into media, role modeling, get back into their family, get down to the bottom of the pit of the emotional and physical toll that performance and the build up to it has taken on them, and then build back up again through the week to do it all again. So that was fascinating. It also is something that I wanted to investigate and spend a day with a group called Incognito Artists in London, New Zealander Jeff Sewell, who has started that to ultimately support actors and performers in a consistent basis instead of contract to contract based on what show they can be in. Fascinating concept, but the theatre performer is putting on show after show after show, night after night, and chucking a couple of matinees. They might be doing 9 shows in a week. That for the person in the audience is their lifetime show. This is the one that we've stepped up to and want to be. So this is our wow moment in the audience. And for the performer, this is show number 254 of the year, of the season. And how do they get into the frame of mind to put on the best show of their life tonight for the person in the audience, or they just go through the motions? And that's great to be able to have those sorts of experiences. Horse trainer, spend a day with a guy Darren Weir in Melbourne and have a good relationship with Chris Waller and his team in Sydney now. He's also a Kiwi who's made his way superbly in Australian racing. When catch up with those guys, those sorts of guys, and have those conversations, to me, there's things around what pressures them. What is it that gives them squeeze? Chris Waller will have 300 horses in 3 different states, different stables. So Sydney, Melbourne, Gold Coast. There could be 300 plus horses, 200 staff. What's pressuring him? How does he deal with that? How does he set up his staff system and his right-hand man, Charlie Duckworth, to help structure the things that need to be done? What are the consistent bases day to day that he does to ensure that the horses are healthy, happy, and fit, and the people are the same? So that sort of stuff's gold when it's just a constant pressure of performance. Checking in with other people as to how they handle that and just having a conversation is it's just bits of gold that you draw on straight away, or a penny might drop in 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, that reminds me, one of my idols was Kobe Bryant growing up, and the quote that I always remember that he said when asked why does he train 4 times a day, why is he still getting up at 4 a.m. when he's towards the end of his career, and why does he play injured or with the flu or traveling around the country? And his response was, there's a kid watching in the crowd, like you said, and that's his only game. that he's going to see, and he's got the opportunity to inspire the next generation, which gives him that drive to be able to push through what were his physical and emotional and physiological limits, which I thought is so true, so powerful. To your point there around, I didn't think of it in that way, but the highs that you go on, even if you're doing a big pitch at work or something which is high emotion, high stress, and then going back into your family life. Were there any universal hacks or things that people did to help with that? Kind of speaking selfishly for myself, were the things that some of these high performers were able to do mentally, or preparation, or habits they had, or routines they had to help them switch between the two?
Yeah, I think the consistent basis, because there's different levels of intensity, aren't there? And when you're talking, like I said, we're talking about an armed forces scenario. That's the extreme life and death. You get it wrong, you're not doing a review on Monday. We're dealing with sport. So, yep, the outcome is important to the organisation and your people. When you're coaching international, to your country, there's no doubt about that. Bottom line is, it's ultimately a game. So you will get to do it all over again. So there's different levels of that. And with the actors, it was slightly different again, the performers. The one consistent thing that came with that was what you're doing in those spaces is a task. It's your job that you're choosing to be in. So know what you need to do to get to do that 100% right, to look after the person beside you and to perform in the way that you need to perform to discharge your responsibilities to that. And then create some space after it. So create a bit of space following whatever it is that you've done to just decamp, debrief, and just take some breath and come back down in a way that allows you to accept that, okay, well, that's done. Now how do we move forward with the other bits of life that we need to move into, and then go again as well. So you create space after, and then create space before to allow for the preparation to get you back into that and cut no corners in that. Kobe Bryant, what does a day look like? It's the same. Okay, and there'll be some days when we know that, jeepers, I got away with that, but you must then learn from that and get back into what do you have to have right. And that's the preparation part, and then the recovery part is allowing space to be the person, to take a breath, to realize what else you need to be in life, and to allow your emotion, physical charge to come back to a level that then you can go back again with when you start your preparation again. So that it sort of begs the question as well. Like one thing I've really learned with those experiences is the masters of their trade, regardless of what their trade is, best CEOs, best chair people of boards and governance, the best horse trainers, the best coaches, etc. They make the complex simple. So they've got an ability to be able to say, this is what we're about, and it's really simple and understandable. But it, like I say, that doesn't make it not complex. So what's happening in behind their head and their mind maps and their experience that has gotten them to this place is highly complex. It happens in a heartbeat for them, and they just know we need to do this at 3 a.m. when we turn the lights on at the stable, and we do this at 3:15. Kobe Bryant's doing this at 4. Richie McCaw, Johnny Wilkinson, they have a complex mind map that's going on behind them, but what they do in their preparation is simple, and they don't relent on that. They love the grind.
Yeah, so true, so powerful as well. So it's like making the complex simple. Sounds easy to do, but in practice, it's probably one of the hardest skills, especially when you're communicating to a team or a group and you're trying to inspire them. And I can imagine on the field, when there's high stress, there's lots going on, they need to just remember the simple things or the simple instructions or the game plan to execute in a high level.
Yeah. And I wonder actually if we've, even just thinking about it now, if the word simple is the right word, because again, that's something different to you, me, Henry.
Mm.
If you're saying, oh, this is really simple, and someone doesn't understand it, now that they think that they're not very clever. So
Yeah, true.
it's probably more something along the lines of making the complex clear. Like it's just do these three things. Oh, what about this? No, do these three things. This is what we do. And then we know, we work with a horse all week, and it's fit, ready to go, happy, and it has a rough ride in the float to the races and gets all edgy, and next thing, or you've got the jockey on board who makes a decision that fires it up, or is a little bit hard in the hands. And now that stuff that's outside of your control, and so much in high performance is. But in our sporting environment, ultimately you are dealing with people, and we have emotions, and we have thoughts, and we have doubts, and we have relationships which impact on how we turn up today, and how we turn up on game day. Things might be flowing, it's beautiful, so you're really up and at 'em. You might have had a fight with your partner before you get in the car to go to the game. So again, your ability to just check in with people. This is what we need. Let's go. We've got this.
Yeah. And on the topic of people, I remember you chatting with, I think it was a few of the other All Blacks coaches, about how you weight selecting individuals, and how character was weighted at 40% and skills was only at 30%, I think. That's something that's really similar to the environment that I was working in for the last 5 years with UK Special Forces, around the selection process itself, basically trying to understand the identity of the individual. They use physical fatigue to manifest as psychological stress and just peel those layers back that we all want to portray to the world, but it reveals who we truly are. How do you approach selecting the right people for the teams you've worked in, like the All Blacks? And what are the biggest mistakes you see? And are there any examples of the repercussions from maybe not aligning with the approach that you think is best?
Yeah. Well, I think the first step in that, and this is where this is absolutely transferable for any team, corporate, sport, arts, whatever it is, any group of people, is understanding what the group is and what does it need to achieve where you want to go. Then working out, well, there's skill sets in there, but there's the character and the glue that needs to be had within the group, so that this will be a cohesive group that will work together to a common goal. It's not saying that you won't have moments of huge challenge and uncomfortable conversations, meetings that are clunky, etc. When I talk about cohesion, I don't talk about that. I'm not talking about it being smooth in all respects. I'm talking about a group that is willing to work together and challenge and ultimately look to achieve as a group what you want to achieve. So go back to dealing with people. There's a skill set, but there's clearly a character that you need. So the skill set at that high performance level of international sport is a given. It's the ability to be able to perform that skill set under that pressure time and time again. And that's a test in that respect. But you must also be of a character that is going to fit the group and not detract from it. So do your character traits allow you to have the humility to put the team first, that to prepare yourself in a way that is so focused on doing your job, because if you do your job, that connects to the team, which then achieves it, but also understanding that doesn't make you a selfish sole trader. You have to do that for the good of the team. So that's that bit of humility and character that comes into it. So you often touted as that no dickheads policy. I hear that more outside of the group than within it, because that's a given. You're coming in, you're picked to do a job because you're obviously capable of doing it. So now let's just get on and get it done, knowing that this is why you're doing it. So character's massive.
Yeah.
And I think within that is character and behavior. So if you've got, we're not going to get everything right. We all make mistakes and do things that aren't quite in line with what we say we're about, and that'll happen along the way. That's behavior. That's a behavioral moment, not a character moment. If there's a bad character, they can't survive. Little behavior moments, well, we get in behind and we help each other out with those. So look, I think we can be better there. And then you get an opportunity to fix that up and to go forward with that lesson on board.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And because your process earlier was fascinating. I think it was at the Scarlets where you interviewed and surveyed people. I'm just thinking about that through a business lens. That's something that tangibly people could go and do when they join a company or when they take up a leadership role, is to find out when the team is at their best, what does everyone think that they're portraying or showing? I suppose just touching on what you just spoke about there about the recruitment side, once you've made that decision to bring that person on board, what do you do specifically to embed them into the culture and to really get them up to speed and feeling that sense of belonging? Are there kind of things which you could use or that people listening could implement in their own world that's worked really effectively in elite sport?
Yeah. Can we answer that and then go back to the bit about when if you're someone that's going to go and join a business organization and what you can do before you go on board, because I think there's some great stuff in that.
Yeah.
So you do in terms of the onboarding of new recruits, new staff, etc. I think being really clear about what your induction process is and why you're doing it is critical. And every organization will be different in that respect. Some workplaces are dangerous. So the induction process will be, physically dangerous. You're dealing with machinery, whatever the case may be. So the induction process will generally be driven by an occupational health and safety sort of focus of this is how we check in, this is who we notify that we're on the floor, that this is how the forklift operates, etc. So that each role will be different. So actually saying, well, what is really important for this induction to ensure that this person can come in and work safely and contribute to this environment. Other places, the city, the corporations, this is about getting things wrong will cost money, which is serious, but it's not a physically dangerous environment. So what's the induction process required here to ensure that this person knows who you're working for, what the expectations are, but also who you can go to, who you can have a conversation with, what's expected of you as a person, and in terms of executing your role. And a lot of the times I'd see scenarios of this is the staff room. So yes, where you can get your cup of coffee, the milk's generally here, the biscuits are filled up, biscuit tin every Thursday. So if you want the chocolate one, get in quick. Otherwise you're left with the crispy.
That'll be Alex. He'll be there first.
Yeah, straight in.
Throwing you under the bus there.
Straight in.
It's those sorts of administrative functional roles which are important, but it's also really important to make sure the person knows what is the culture they're stepping into, and hopefully they've done some work on that before. Of course, it depends on what level you're coming in at. What does it look like to be on the staff and who you're representing? How do you turn up, and who can you go to for help, etc. So I think it's important to look into those things. The who you're representing is massive. That's pretty clear in a team, and your senior players, the changing room, if you're functioning well, they'll start to look after those people. So you're always attaching someone with peer support. I have to say, our youngest son started high school this year in Christchurch Boys High. I looked around other schools and asking questions as a consequence of this. I've seen the experience of how they onboarded their first year students. The first year students might be in year 9, or there might be someone who's joined in at year 12. They were all part of this, and new staff. And it was just a beautiful process of connection and belonging and showing what the school's about. And as I say, through asking around other places, it seems that this is consistent now across a lot of schools compared to when I jumped into my first year, it was, well, this is the school. This is now your class. This is where your locker is. Be careful there because, some of the older boys might come past and we shove into the locker, etc. But it's just not happening. It's the belonging part of feeling what you're about. The senior students welcoming you. That's your senior staff ensuring that people are welcome. It's not just this is your boss, so this is your only relationship. Put other people alongside them. Allow the conversation to evolve to a point of, well, now it's really clear who I represent. Almost places an obligation on the person coming in that, gosh, okay, this is what I've got to uphold. This is what working here looks like when I'm in the office. That's what it looks like when I'm out of the office. So I guess it's a long way around to saying put some really good thought into what your induction process, what's the purpose of it, and what do you want to achieve, and then go and put that in place and have the system that allows that to happen. Don't cut any corners there.
Yeah. I'd love to just, on that topic, pick your brains a little bit around how you do it, because I've been very open about how within 2 weeks of arriving in New Zealand, I was made to feel more connected, like I belonged to the team through the work that yourself and people like Whopper and the wider group did, than anywhere I'd ever been before, and the community as well. And I remember very clearly I was so jet lagged. I think I traveled about 30 hours. I probably booked last minute flights, and I arrived and was absolutely knackered. And that next morning came into the club with my eyes probably half open. And the first time I met you, you took me with your family, with your wife, with your kids, on a trip out with one of the other coaches. And you didn't need to. You were already doing that, and that was the first, I guess, sign of this place is different, or they do it differently here. They really genuinely care about you and want to make you feel like you belong, and you hear these words belonging cues said quite often. I think they're quite in vogue at the moment. How do you go about creating those belonging cues, or how have you seen that done excellently within the organisations you've worked in, like Crusaders, the All Blacks, etc.?
Oh, mate, well, it's a lovely story and memory, and so thanks for that wee trip down memory lane. Beautiful. I think that we gave quite a long answer and discussion to the previous question, but it just takes me straight back. You say care. I mean, this is back to care, value, empower, grow. So it starts with caring. I mean, you take your example. You haven't arrived by accident. There's an opportunity. You've got a skill set. You've seen that you'd like to be part of that, and you've applied. So the fact that you're there is because you can. It's a price of entry is your technical ability to do the task. So we don't need to go there. But you need to, surely as a person, you mentioned it, we start with a care aspect. And that's not sitting down and going, okay, there's these 5 things with these boxes that we need to show you that we care. And we're just going to tick them off now, Henry. So we care about you. That's not going to make you feel like you're cared about. But let's involve you. Let's include you. You're part of us now. So we're off on this trip. Come join us. That's the actions that show it. And at that time, it wouldn't have settled in on me. And this is only in the last couple of years that I started to really understand that is my model: care, value, empower, grow. And I'm not alone in that. But what the stuff in amongst that and drops down from each of those aspects is my own mind map and stuff that'll take us there to show you that you are cared for. So here you can be yourself. We want you to be yourself. Let's get to know each other. And if things are going great, let's talk about that. If you're battling with stuff, let's talk about that. What you see is important. So your voice is important. We need to hear from you. The only opinion I don't want is no opinion. And then ensuring that the environment is safe to allow that. That's care. Like I said earlier, then valuing you and showing that you are valued, and also what your role is here and what value you give to us by discharging your role is massively important. And that's the alignment and understanding of what we need from you, and also how that fits into the bigger picture. And then that we can there can be a discussion around, well, this is what we need from other people in here. Then it's like I say earlier, the empowering aspect of, again, you're here because you've obviously got technical ability to do a skill set that we need. So I'm going to empower you to do that. You are better at your role than I am. So let you do it. I'm going to get out of your way. You're going to do that, and you're going to lead that. You are the leader of your role. Receptionist at the office in the city today, they are the leader of their role as far as I'm concerned. Empower the people to do what we need them to do, whilst also guiding, questioning, knowing enough about what we want from you to be able to ask the right questions and listen to the answers, but also just saying, well, what do you need from me for you to do the best of this? And then understanding that with those combinations, we will grow as individuals, we will grow the role, and we will grow the group. And sometimes, we're not 100% sure where that's growing to, but we're going to grow it because we want you to continue to grow this role in the way that will ultimately help us be better at what we do. And mate, in the end of the day, that might actually mean that you outgrow the role and your people need to move on. Well, that's a massive success. That's wonderful. We want people to see that as being a success within the organisation, or the role evolves and so do you, and then we start to pivot with it and show that we can move with this and take it to a place that we actually couldn't do 3 years ago, but we can now.
So many nuggets of gold in there. I feel that quote, or that mic drop moment, "You are the leader of your role," is so powerful in any context, any team, any business. Yeah, really, really good.
I think a cool analogy around that and is the Formula One pit stop situation. There could be 19 people touching the car for that 2 seconds. It might be 1.5 seconds, but their role in that moment is to discharge what they need to do right then and there to the best of their ability under huge pressure. So if your job is to take the nuts off the front left wheel of the car, do that. Do it now, put it back on, done. Yeah. And each of those people are experts, aren't they? They're not the person taking the nuts off isn't a nut remover. They're an engineer of high intelligence and ability who in that moment must discharge that role. So we need them to lead that. Do your role as best as you can, because this will give the car, the driver, the team, the best ability to get it over the line first.
But I feel we could speak for hours. Literally, we've got a word association finish, haven't we, Henry? Plan for Brad.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, there's a lot of questions still left here, and I think if you're keen, we'll probably try and guilt trip you to agree now. But we'd love to get you on again and to delve into some of these other areas. But for now, maybe a little word association to finish, if you're happy with that.
Lovely.
All right.
If anyone listens and wants to hear again, we can go again. But
honestly, some of the things that you said today are so transferable, because my world is the startup world, corporate world, and just there's some one-liners in there which people can take and tangibly do in their day-to-day. And that's what, when Henry and me started this, we wanted to speak to amazing leaders like yourself, but also we wanted that information to be clear, actionable, tangible, so that someone could then use that to make their team better, to improve their performance of their own team and their people. And there's so many useful bits that you've shared today. So thank you very much.
Oh, mate, well, it's a pleasure. Look, it's a hell of a journey, isn't it? We don't get it all right. And think of moments, where you're receiving feedback and you take it well and you can move on, and other times you receive feedback and you bite and defensive and whatnot, and have great moments when you think you're going really good, adversity moments where you think now you're really bad, but a lot really probably ultimately never as good as what people say you are, and you're never as bad as what they say you are. So having that confidence and that ability to go, well, this is what I'm about. So if this is going to help this group, well, I can be part of it. If it's not, no problem, join something else. But how you deal with all that, it's critical. What we learn from our successes and our failures along the way are equally important.
Yeah, 100%. So Henry's got 10 words he's going to fire at you. So the first word which comes to your mind when Henry says these 10 words, please share it with the listeners today.
This could well need a lot of editing.
Righto, so the first word is All Blacks.
Awesome.
Rugby.
Passion.
Leadership.
People.
Failure.
Learning.
Family.
Gold.
Culture.
Belonging.
Identity.
Iceberg.
Crusaders.
Fantastic.
Stories.
Life.
And winning.
Moments.
Awesome. Thank you very, very much. It's been awesome chatting to you again. Like I say, we'll try and guilt trip you back on again if you're happy to, because there's so many more experiences that you've had and so many more nuggets. I'm sure that we can glean from that. But on behalf of both of us, just wanted to say a big thank you, and from the listeners too, for sharing your experiences, because I'm sure there'll be a hell of a lot that they get out of it.
Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, absolute pleasure, guys. Well done on what you're doing. Fantastic. It's been fun.
Awesome, mate. Hey everyone, so I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Brad. For me, it was a real trip down memory lane. I mean, Brad was one of the first coaches I ever worked with, the first over in New Zealand, certainly, and just to be able to reconnect after 10 years and hear about his journey and his experiences and learnings was awesome. So I hope you feel the same too. What I'd love to do here is, as we normally do, break this down into 3 specific takeaways and action points that you guys can use within your environments. Brad obviously spoke about his why. You know, he spoke about having read the book Good to Great and realised that he needed to do something that really aligned with his passion and strengths to feel fulfilled. And that was why he moved from being a lawyer to a rugby coach, and obviously worked all his way up to being then the All Blacks assistant coach. There were so many different things that he touched on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the one that I think was probably most crucial. So takeaway number 1 is there are no secrets. You know, Brad said there's no secrets to the All Blacks and other highly successful teams. It's simply down to 3 things: the quality of the people, the understanding of each person's role, and then empowering them to do that to the best of both yours and their ability. So the action point for this, really, obviously Brad said with the All Blacks, everybody's a great player. So you need a certain minimum threshold for skill, but ultimately hire for character and communicate for clarity. You know, thoroughly scrutinise the character of who you're hiring. There's this phrase which they use in New Zealand, which is great people make great All Blacks. And then once they're in and on your team, ensure that everyone has complete clarity on why they're there, what you're trying to achieve collectively, and the specific role they need to play in it. And it's so often missed, that clarity around who is responsible for what and how each of you are bringing your own strengths and diversity to help the goal and you guys achieve it. So the second takeaway might be familiar to some of you that have read Owen Eastwood's book Belonging. And it was ultimately that for sustained success, you need to think like a farmer. He said that sustained success can't be down to one person or one group of people. Brad believes that everyone must see themselves as custodians of their role in order to create a legacy of sustainable success. And Brad spoke about how farmers understand this and often make decisions that benefit their land in the long term. And this links actually back to a word called whakapapa within the Maori culture, which basically explains how we are all connected, those that have come before us, those that have come after, along one single line of genealogy, and it's purely that at this moment in time the sun is shining on us, and it creates that collective responsibility to leave something better than you inherited it. And so the action point for this is really to be able to create a culture of custodians within your organization or team. Tell your story, help people to connect to it, and then ensure that people feel like they belong. And this will ensure that people want to hand over their role to their successor in a better place than when they joined, and will go the extra mile whilst they're in that role to make sure they're contributing towards that. So the takeaway that I'd like to finish with is one that the All Blacks are known worldwide for, and it's their ability to perform at the highest level under pressure. So we're going to talk about how you can build high pressure habits. Brad spoke about how the most important decisions are often made when we're under pressure, and the All Blacks' ability to succeed at doing this is due to practicing in high pressure scenarios. This enables people to form high performance habits that they can actually execute when the going gets tough. So how can you use this and practice this and apply it within your team or company? So really it comes down to being hyper focused with your training time. Brad believes that companies who have limited time to train and to develop their people in formal settings should be hyper focused on what's actually most important to them, what each individual's role is in this, and then work back from that on what it is that they need to specifically develop in that small training window, and then to gradually replicate this in higher pressure scenarios. So I hope again you enjoyed the conversation. Loved having it with Brad again. Both Alex and I came away with so many interesting insights, and I hope you did too. We're looking forward to catching up again with you very soon.